So what are the best set items to use for a monk in open world farming, in PvP and in dungeons? Well, I will explain here why in my opinion these set items are best in those places. And we will start with the open world farming. Now, there is one set that is probably best in the open world farming with almost every single class, and that is the Issatar Enraged. And why is that? Well, each time you defeat an enemy, you gain 30% increased movement speed for 3 seconds. This already is one of the best movement speed buffs you can have inside open world farming. This is not good in PvP, this is not good in dungeons, but this is really good in open world farming because you are always killing inside the 3 seconds, and because movement speed buffs do not stack, you can have 30% movement speed all the time, and you need to worry about movement speed buffs on your legendary items. Now, we will be using 4 pieces of this because you should try to get 20% movement speed anyways, and then you get 30% movement speed from this, and that's going to be 50% movement speed, and the 4 piece will increase your damage by 2.5% for every 5% increase in the movement speed, and it caps out to 25%. And this means you will have 25% increased damage all the time when you're farming in the open world. So you can have a little less damage inside open world and you can still kind of one-shot the packs. So I was using this even before the 8 pieces because this is just that good. Now, it depends on what build you are using, but you will probably want to have something like Gloomcoid's price on the next 2 pieces here just for the critical hit chance and the increased damage, and this is probably only for the monk class. Or if you are using something like primary attack builds, you will probably want to use Vitu's Urge for that 30% buff duration and 30% attack speed. Although there are times when you do use, with a monk you do use like Shield of Zen, Cyclone Strike and stuff like that is a buff, and you mostly use those to kill people, then you probably just use Vitu's Urge with 2 pieces, and then something like Gloomcoid's price, 2 pieces, or even something that increases your continual damage. Now, let's move on to the dungeon builds. Now, in the dungeon builds, you will probably always want to use 4 pieces of Vitus, because if you are using Monk in dungeons, you either use the critical hit increase in a sanctuary or just damage increase in a sanctuary, or you at least should be. Then you can have the 30% attack speed on everybody on your party when you do use those, and you do get yourself the 30% attack speed too. Now, I've heard that the critical hit chance does not work together with other buffs. So if you have the inner sanctuary with a critical hit buff, I don't personally have that, you don't gain critical hit chance from the Gloomcoids. So we should probably go with 4-piece Shalbas in the dungeon builds because we are usually using primary attacks. So we can get 25% attack speed just from using our primary attacks, 15% increased damage for the primary attacks, and then we also get that sweet 30% from the Vitus. So we already get 55% attack speed just from using these 2. And then we of course should be using the Mystic Strike with the Feline Defiance to get another 30%, so that will hit to the 85% attack speed, which is good, respectable. So we do get a lot more damage from our dungeon builds with these 2 sets. Personally, I don't yet have 4 pieces of both. I do have 4 pieces of both, but they are the same pieces, so I cannot build them together yet. But in my opinion, this is the best for dungeon builds. There is some other builds you can use and use something like continuous damage, even Banquets of Ice probably, but mostly I will success just using 4-piece Vitus and 4-piece Shalbas because primary attacks are just that good, and buffing your party members with the 30% attack speed is also just that good. If we move up to PvP, there is one set that most of you probably want to use, and that is of course going to be the Mountebanks. Mountebanks 4-piece is giving us 33% shield, and this is probably used by a lot of classes in a lot of builds, because this just gives you so much more tankiness and survivability if you just use 4-piece of mountebanks. Now with 4-piece mountebanks, I think there are basically two options. There are some niche builds that can use another ones too, so you can use others, but these are my opinion from the best ones. So if you do use 4-piece mountebanks, I will either use 4-piece gloom goods to complement that with some damage, or again 4-piece witus. I do like 4-piece witus a lot, but because of the rubber banding that is happening right now, I feel like sometimes gloom goods can be better, because if the people are rubber banding, you are at least hitting with your abilities, but your primary attacks may not be hitting, and then your 30% attack speed is just going into vain, although you do get the attack speed for your abilities, which also makes the abilities a bit faster, so you can dash faster, etc. But yeah, one of the best builds will probably be just 4 pieces mountebanks, 4-piece gloom goods, or 4-piece witus. But if you want to get every ounce of damage out of your build, you could just ignore every tank set and just hit on with 4-piece witus and 4-piece gloom goods. You will get 15% damage increase, 22-point critical hit chance, while you also get the witus beneficial duration, which is good and nice for Shield of Zen, and of course good and nice for our Inner Sanctuary, the new helmet, which is gonna be good used, I think, and I will be doing a video about it once I do finally get that one. And of course, the 30% attack speed, which is good nice. This is probably one of the scariest monk builds you can use, although the problem here, of course, is going to be that you will be going down faster than many other classes, because most people will probably be using mountebanks in PvP, at least 2 or 4-piece. But if you do want all that damage, you can use Awakener's Urge, and you can use Gloom Goods. Now there is one other thing you could be using inside PvP, which is, of course, again, Awakener's Urge. By the way, this is for primary attack builds, so probably you want to use Dead Reach with the knock up with this. So you will be using this for the 30% attack speed, and again 4-piece Shell Boss for 25% attack speed. Now this might not be as good as I'm thinking, but you might be able to knock people before they can get out from the first knock. I do not know, I haven't tested this, I don't have enough pieces yet to test it out, but 85% attack speed sounds like a pretty scary thing to be facing when you use Deadly Reach with the knock up main hand. So with that build, you could use Witus Urge, Shell Boss, and other builds would be mountebanks, Gloom Goods, or mountebanks witus, or even just witus and mountebanks. And once again, open world farming, I will use Issatar always because of the movement speed and 25% attack speed. Then either 2 pieces Witus Urge and 2 pieces Gloom Goods, or some continuous damage if I do have my basic build that uses 7-sided, that uses Shield of Zen and Cyclone Strike. Or I will use Issatar and just 4 pieces Witus Urge if I'm using on primary attack build. Now in dungeons, I will highly recommend just using Awakener's Urge and Shell Boss 4-piece, just to get the primary attack damage and buff your allies. Now if you did find this video helpful, please consider hitting that subscribe button. I will be doing a lot more videos lately. I'm trying to go full time, so I'm really focusing almost all my time for these videos, so I could go full time and I could try to help you even more. So hopefully you will have a great day, and I will catch you on the next one.